This ID card is why Mac wants Dennis and to be Dennis. I love actor Wendell Middlebrook's whole brow thing. Writing credited on screen to Audra Sylaf and Becky Mann, frequent creative partners. The duo apply executive story edits across season 6, writing the Christmas special and the episode this quietly sets up. Dee Gives Birth. Randall Einhorn directed half of season 5 and does the same for season 6. This is the first episode shot in high definition, but don't it look good? Ali Almonds? Max already had some nuts. Carmen's news is met with celebration and a delightful anomaly in the gang's usual bigotry. They hate Mac more than trans people. The gang's feelings for Carmen are made believable by hearing their transitioning process in the conversation. It also sets up this episode's
Let
hot
him do it.
potato.
There's no skin off my ass.
The gruesome self-medicating is wonderfully silly slapstick. These two are Sonny's one true love story.
Maybe bubbly water? Maybe you can get me some bubbly water?
Here we go.
The Ponderosas have entered the chat, and Dennis has his eyes on Maureen from the outset. Maureen is played by Catherine Reitman, daughter of Hollywood directorial legend responsible for National Lampoon, Stripes, Twins, Ghostbusters. Catherine appeared in both Twins and Ghostbusters 2 as a child, later popping up in Space Jam, How I Met Your Mother, Family Guy, and currently she's fronting her own created show, 83 episodes of Working Moms. Lance Barber had been on TV since 2001 and was racking up visible entertainment spots around the time he was cast in Sunny. He still appears everywhere, notably 141 episodes of Young Sheldon. I don't watch that Big Bang shit. Mac is out to exercise some spirits,
Sex in the butt.
letting slip he can't find his way around the Bible. And it turns out these people actually are related.
Oh, really? Well, what time's your section from, Matt?
This is a critique that Mac uses a Bible as a weapon to justify his grievances. The Bible's special power serves as a beacon to point to the moronic, clenching it, and the hypocrites, the ugly, the hateful, the bullies.
Man, my guess is you've been confused for a very long time.
And twist, Dennis got married. Who saw that coming? This episode aired September 2010, a little over a week after Glenn Howerton and Jill Latiano's first wedding anniversary. A little less than a week since Rob McElhenney and Caitlin Olsen's second wedding anniversary. The subject of marriage was totally present behind the scenes. Bonus fact, Charlie and Mary Elizabeth married back in March 2006, when season 2 would have been produced, but nearly 4 months before it began airing. Dennis's marriage is a moment of weakness. We don't often think of Dennis as simple, but as he's quite shallow, it's not a stretch. What is simple is getting rid of Mac. Assassin's bullet. Okay, so Frank's still got his prejudices and simpleness. Quotes aplenty this episode.
Well, two dudes getting married, that doesn't seem very gay.
Yeah, right? It's not.
Oh no, my new favourite quote.
It's fine. I had some bad spaghetti.
Catherine Reitman's vocal inflections have a terrifying timbre to them. She's not even shaken at news of Lethal Weapon by the gang, which will pay off in episode 9. She's as cute as a knife with felted stars glued on it, silly. To be continued. Written by brothers Dave and John Shernan, directed by Einhorn. A reminder Charlie and Frank are married, Dee's mid-grift, and Mac is homeless. I like how part 2 lands with the gang ensnared and squirming in their own nets. Dee saddled with Bill, equivalent in response to responsibility. At second location, the strip club, Charlie and Frank deny perks on perks. And Dennis, like any considerate husband, he's left cab fare on the nightstand and turns his dilemma into a burden on Mac and Maureen, who surely understand what's his by right.
Divorce!
Here we get an exemplar of how Sonny's brand of cringe works. McElhenney Mac is 100% indulgent for this debaucherous home invasion, yet he shifts with ease to the observer to an ugly aggressive breakup. He has a selfish interest in where he'll sleep, which is understandable, yet he's stunned silent. He's not even the audience stand-in because we're laughing at Dennis. Show Maureen some respect. Still he morphs fluidly, awkward, to Billy's toady sniggering, and onwards, backwards, to default, pathetic Mac. Today's Sunny Redditor theory posits Maureen's attempted frame-up would have been recorded on Dennis's always running cameras. But that's no good to him in the courts. In Philadelphia, it's a misdemeanor to record someone without their knowledge. Filibuster? Nice robe. Dee and fat guy's groin spread. Shake it, baby, shake it. Olsen screeching.
Get out!
Is sheer glee. Patties, where unhappy marriages come to die. Compared to Sonny's top-tier acting talent, McElhenney gets short shrift. But when Charlie's lawyering is proposed to solve things, look at this subtle, not subtle repositioning to security mode. Silent comedy. There's a key line of dialogue in
Whatever it's going to take to wrap this up, really.
It demonstrates how the Reynolds' ethical shallowness lets Always Sunny flourish in the confines of 20-minute episodes. Andrew Friedman does have massive hands. I love his vocal quality too, formal, authoritative. In this scene we can believe in him as a lawyer, responsive, settling, mediator, resolving. Yet on a dime, creepy. We don't see Dee in any physical scraps with other women. She favours cerebral violence. She feels, which Dennis takes as an example to make that transition to his signature style.
Oh, Mr. Reynolds.
And from there, while Mac and Maureen shift uneasily, he's steamrolled over. A debt worth as much as the apartment. Lots of touchy-feely unrequited. And a souvenir snapshot of happy memories. We are here. Speed.
There's nothing I can do about it, so
Entertaining and shrimp. The salesman directly patronizes the gang, starting a recurring tone. The drowning sailor looks like a junk whore. An abandoned houseboat. Dingy dingy ditty with P. Not so shabby inside. Though we might be suspicious and treat this
Weird inflatable tube man P Diddy dance.
as a ritual to invoke evil creatures. Frank and Charlie have many crab cages as befitting crab people.
these little delicious oysters.
Boiled barnacles ain't no rum ham. Lock and key. Oh Christ.
Because of the implication.
It's this one.
You had me going there for the first part.
But the thing is she's not gonna say no. She would never say no.
Howerton's falsetto victim. McElhenney's straight man to psychopath. The light in Glenn Howerton's eyes. Flicker of resoluteness picking up when it cuts back to him. Like fact, like supervillain. Is Mac making this worse? Dennis's cranial twitches. Have we Mac to thank for exposing this criminal? His glee is all nervousness. Howerton's expression imposes a tendency to be bloodying.
So they are in danger.
No one's in any danger.
I must Google underwater horse massacre. A fragment of a horse frieze from the Temple of Zeus in Sicily. The author of the Ipcrest file wrote Horse Underwater about a spy retrieving items from a sunken U-boat, including coins and heroin. And this, a shark devouring the carcass of a horse in the depths of the ocean. Sunny fans are all over the internet. The boat, the drowning sailor, is a visual media extension of the gang. The outer grime is a metaphor for how they affect the environment of Philadelphia. Inside, where it's not initially terrible, becomes a place of destructive violence. That environment is cast out to join other damages, sinking down below like their morals. And it's always fucked when Mac is a voice of morality.
You've been dumping the trash in the ocean?
Tube Guy had Dee's end-up-level boss potential. A Room Full of Norman Reedus is a stepping stone plot-wise, but has a fine reprise of the dialogue of the implication. Caitlin Olsen's synchronized dancing is purely magical.
Crew meeting! Crew meeting!
Okay.
Where's Charlie?
He's in the water.
What is he doing in the water?
Paddy's management politics repeat as the boat's part owner spends the episode steeped in grime. Charlie work. Yet the freedom of the sea means he's not so inclined to roll over and take it as he might be back in the bar. And there's a very simple and important lesson to be learned here. Don't trust Charlie. He's not the good one. There is no good one. R.I.P. Dancing Tube Guy. It's a really great episode that evokes a leisurely tone. Seeing the gang out of their natural environment again, it's always a joy. The pre-credit scene sets up the gang's personal political factions for the episode and a level of cohesion between them. Mac's big break is an episode feeling quite empty in places, even with a few gold standard scenes. Two stories, quite detached, united by the theme of media. The segments around the podcast deliver cameos from recurring characters and paint a critique not only of amateur indie productions, but the bullshit trivia virulent in traditional institutional programming. News media must have a talking point, framed in broad terms as for or against. When new media producers adopt this old media ethic without appropriate training, they often fall flat, as Dee does. And the episode highlights when media defaults to filler.
Dead air!
Topics are presented without depth, flighty, in this fraying, seamful transition from technology to homelessness. Our first guest update is from cricket with a newly infected wound.
Not that I believe in God. I don't.
And tales of bestiality thrown in for good measure. All framed within a congenial, knowing atmosphere.
Well, at least someone's banging my vagina. You know what I'm saying?
Get into it! Get in!
Later, Dennis has opinions on stem cell research, but Dee is 2 steps behind with the laptop sound effect showcasing her ability to be inappropriate and not funny. War, which is about fighting, or banging Dee, same thing. There's no actual topic for the waitress guesting besides seeking an apology from Dennis. Cricket's appearance is the most memorable, but I find the waitress's spot the funniest, the most fleshed out, a full story with escalating levels of degradation, humiliation, and humour. Mac's big break is the weaker of the two plots. It gives us an early entry in tacking en masse and a first use and high use of the term jabroni. We can frame all this as a critique of entertainment media, looking good over substantial substance. Charlie proposes Mac wears a wig like Andree Agassi, whose feelings around baldness led to him losing the 1990 French Open. News of this type is about knowing what we know, of what's already familiar, so we don't have to think or learn, but Mac's beginning from a place below failure. After they're ejected from the rink, Charlie speed tutors Mac on skating. No one around, presumably they broke in after hours. A montage with a variation on fight milk. Important mullet work completed. It's time for Mac's big moment.
Everybody say a prayer.
Rob McElhenney is an expert at striking a pose. The production standards going into the making of this sequence look utterly iconic. Randall Einhorn directed this episode, and the creators have spoken in glowing terms about his role in teaching them to embrace shooting episodes on a larger scale. For this story it needs to be, because we're seeing the idealized version as it happens in Mac's head while he sleeps.
I'm sorry, dude. He's white trash.
The white trash try to join the establishment, which goes about as well as can be expected. The issue of class is presented, Mac cognizant enough to state it explicitly. The issue of class is presented, Mac cognizant enough to state it explicitly. He raises the issue of limitation his places on their upward mobility, and in the same breath pours verbal piss on the disgusting people at the public pool. Their logic, lower class than their own lower class. A remark which is not classy. Already he's moved on to social enterprise and innovative entrepreneurship. Max says her
Pattern of discrimination.
to be challenged.
I'm saying we fix up this pool.
This episode is written by the rarely credited writer Love Rake. This is a presentation made for Frank So You'd Think. Caitlin Olsen's pregnancy shows a little. I like to believe the gang haven't noticed. Dee and Dennis flaunt their claim of privilege of being upper class with certainty. That air of Betterland buys no favours at the private pool, even when they flip-flop to weaponise it in terms of race. Flip-flop, I'm funny. Living in gloomy Ireland, I forget it's often sunny in Philadelphia, outside Paddy's blackout zone. Frank has rejected the class paradigm because it suits here, and there's trades to be made from a bite of his hot dog. At Paddy's pool, Charlie has a vision of swim bars, waiter service, a ladder installed, for a while anyways.
Oh, shit.
Elsewhere, the high gentry encounter broken glass, stolen shoes, and Frank's greased watermelon. The trash are similarly consistent with one panic-induced meltdown and an amateur presentation on the integral nature of backflips. Neither white trash or people of status want to show weakness to the other. It pretends that everything is fine and that it will be if only you believe it. And it doesn't advance either predicament, of course.
Butter me up. I'm gonna be the watermelon.
And we get another entry in Dee suffering cranial damage.
These kids are throwing rocks at each other for fun. I mean, what kind of savages throw rocks at each other to have fun times?
Mac and Charlie spectacularly fail to lift themselves up beyond their class, for which the abandoned pool is a metaphor, due to a lack of critical thinking and financial resources. I mean, Mac is sure that they will.
It's our bootstraps, and it's
By their bootstraps is a phrase often used by those in positions of power and privilege with agendas for enforcing inequalities. But meanwhile, there's jumping out of bushes, scratches, bleeding, and
plus I'm gonna piss in it.
the attendant loses his temper. Maybe another critique of the private class, but more likely because this is a gang. There's a crash and an underwhelming camera angle on the footage of Dennis thrown into a glass table, which is worth rewinding and rewatching. A tribute to Jamie Nelson.
Lamb of God, who takes away.
What is that? There's a lamb?
And a hilarious skit reprising The Gang Finds a Miracle. Pastor Mac countered by Charlie's voodoo priest offering, a discordant delight. The gang shouting over one another sets Sonia apart, packs in comedic dialogue, allows you to find your favourite and shows character building. And we end on some family fun in Philadelphia. I'd like to shout out a big thank you to all my patrons whose names are now on screen. And if you've enjoyed this, please give me a comment, give me a like.
Lamb of God, who takes
Alligator tooth and snakeskin spirit, take this spirit out of this pool.
Okay.
Who Josh Groban is or what he does still hasn't registered with me. My mum is a big fan of. Hi Mum. This episode's overarching theme is taking care of our parents in their senior years. As Insurance Frank is galvanised to look after the sick bird. It plays similarly to Sonny's transatlantic cousin Peep Show and the episode Shrooming.
When I'm old and sick, you have to take care of me.
On the white trash side, it sets up the ongoing status quo pairing Mac and Charlie's mums and halving necessary location work. This is a Martyr and Rozelle number. Matt Shackman returns to direct, and Poppins makes his debut. Dennis pitches a cohabitation, but doesn't care for the Golden Girls analogy. It's him facilitating and expediting the negotiation. With a great script, Sandy Martin as Mrs. Mac and Lynn Marie Stewart as Bonnie perform the foundation of quiet tension and stubborn panicking. Our regulars take their cues from them delightfully. Meanwhile,
Trying to bond with you.
That's how you want to bond with me? Asking me if I still get periods?
Gargoyle Piss Dog pays a visit and has brought Poppins along, helping sabotage Frank's plan. Because Mac has warned Frank about the sexual violations in nursing homes.
Nursing home? Do you have any idea what happens in those places, dude? Why don't I just rape her myself?
Dennis's effort to help is a creation of problems for Dee, which Frank will react to and provide a solution. And back at the Kelly house, the fractures flow like an avalanche. We go a long way to developing the mothers, Mrs. Mack's stoicism, confusion, and stink. Bonnie's perpetual unease, looking obsessively to Charlie for answers.
And the card has look at her!
Staking out Dee has reminiscences of who pooped the bed. I'm not sure I understand the purpose of the sleepwalking scene. Dee's fever state has some similarities with Mark and Peep Show.
1, 2, 3. So Charlie doesn't die.
I'm still alive.
Mrs. Mack's night terrors are another indicator to why Mac grew up to have chronic self-esteem issues. Lawther's firmness may well have stalled the worst of the damage. Young Mac asking if he could go in Mommy's bed conjures all manner of darkness. This sets up how Bonnie and Mrs. Mack work together in their needs for set routines and their racism. No, it doesn't explain their racism. One of the great comedy double acts is born. We can imagine the creatives knew what they had here as Mac and Charlie's assessment of the situation verges on the meta. Not so Golden Girls, glimpsing into an alternate Always Sunny project. It's always racist, violent and mental in Old Lady House. Dee bound in ropes with a dead dog on top of her. At times like this I have no critical insight to offer. But hey, the footage. Poppins the adamantium dog. And a voice cameo from saucy Artemis Pepdani gives a tidy resolution. No loose knot lines. We're halfway into season 6 and the pre-credits setup details the gang's aims as they prepare to spend the episode overnight at the museum.
Fake out!
No, actually, it's a mystery of which of them impregnated Dee, framed so Frank and Dennis are suspects too.
You two aren't having sex together.
Who got Dee pregnant?
Fake out!
It's a Halloween episode, amusing setting considering the question. And it crams a lot in by being told from multiple perspectives. Charlie to Phantom of the Opera is a perfect character portation. Lonely backstage performed janitor with unrequited love issues. I'm fairly sure Frank is supposed to be Spider-Ham. Comics continuity consistency with web shooting actions. But back to the central mystery.
Well, mystery solved. I mean, yeah.
That you banged the peacock chick is not the mystery.
The D thing is the mystery.
Charlie's version encompasses a truce, there's a fight milk, and a snog. Frank can see the holes in it straight away.
First of all, don't say I went as Spider-Man. I didn't go as Spider-Man. I was Man-Spider. Totally different.
There's a tangent into dumpster humping. The episode is fairly reminiscent of Community's episode Remedial Chaos Theory in its multi-story approach. That aired a full year later. I prefer Paddy's take, less repetitive, quicker crossing timelines, and undetail a kingly treasure trove. Artemis and Charlie get it on. Confirmed by her version. Totally confirmed. Fingering Mac as a father who made out with Dee, who has a bird beak now.
Not in my bar, bro.
Mac denies it in a sequence that's alpha security with sparkling script and production.
Oh, hey, Dee. I do not give a shit about your problems, Dee.
And we get one of Dee's most iconic scenes ever. Mac banged Margaret McPoyle, but the explanation why doesn't sell it to me. It feels Mac should have been more reticent to admit it. It does bridge to the McPoyles present in everyone's story and sober. The gang's reliability is measured when they're the bulwark of truth. It emerges the waitress wasn't there at all. The gang forgets her. Mac punches another woman. As to sex with Dee, his name is cleared.
Knowing that Charlie was the weakest and by far the most vulnerable, she assumed he would be the easiest to take advantage of.
The McPoyles recount predatory Dee and a tangled web of costume switches which all come back to incest. Climactic confrontation from 7 perspectives and more stories are dropped by design. That Dee tries to mess with the gang is established history. This is a rare instance of her succeeding to effect, but so there's no mistaking a variety of bird-based insults cushions that we still don't know the mystery's answer. What do you think happened at the museum that night? The gang open a time capsule with valuable artifacts including a corn CD. An old gang photo, authentic in its look. This opens us up to the introduction of Schmitty.
I'm Schmitty.
You're the Schmitty!
Remember, kind of got on her nerves.
Schmitty is played by Jason Sudeikis, then a core member of SNL, later co-starring with Charlie on Horrible Bosses. Dee's arc and Smitty's return allows this to be a strong episode for building a backstory around the gang. For one, we get new lore around Nightcrawlers.
You could use blankets, right?
They could be the dirt!
Exactly. You could use it as a force field or as a roaming base.
We also get a few instances of Dennis showing remorse, a total act, unexplained here, but the planting of plot seeds and onion seeds. The gang's internal power politics is also in the A-plot. Smitty, as a presenting alpha pseudo, we can think in the past has pushed Charlie firmly to the bottom. Previously, he may have relied on Mac for cover, but Mac is a power bottom. With Dee gone, it's locked in. His animosity to Smitty is exacerbated by Frank, seemingly enamoured by him. The bonding is all shook up. DeVito and Sudeikis complement it with a great on-screen energy. Charlie's upset is played out with good balance and pace. As we know from scenes past, he doesn't have a great history with ultimatums. This is Eden Run venue from Series 2, Episode 5, so plenty of time for staff turnover to not recognise them. Presumably Dennis chose a location as a power move. Frank's bankroll, the Frank roll, will have paid for the 4 sterling silver clover rings which match up to form 1. Less like Hitchhiker's Guide book covers, more like Infinity Gems and Gauntlet. New lore. It's got to be a Frank idea, this polish and privilege. Frank can be very concerned about power at times, and at others a free agent outside the system. Mac, on the other hand, is here exposed as the weakest member of the new lineup, although relatively fine with it.
Yes, Dennis orders for us.
A quality scene for McElhenney expressing his character's subservience. The little look he gives Horton in asking for approval to switch, eating prawn without prawn. Horton also expressive magic as Smitty changes up the food order. It's a violation of his furious control, and we know here that Smitty's time is near an end. Meanwhile, Dee visits her old acting tutor, Dr. Larry Mayers, played by René Auberjonois, whose usual charm and grace shines through the character, a regretful, washed-up man past his prime. His memory is so jilted, he recalls Dee as a good actress. It stands out how Dee genuinely feels affection for Mayers. Perhaps he introduced her to the booze, perhaps gave her the encouragement she was starved of growing up. Validation fueled through the prism of alcoholism, pushing Dee to believe too much. The more I rewatch Sonny, the more I feel Caitlin Olsen is in a top-tier category of one, due to inhabiting a terrible presenter-performer. No one does it quite like her. The ire from the class is tangible, and there's something of a forgotten classic moment in Dee as Frankenstein, something I would have liked to see extended. And Mayer's story ends as another plotline waxes in.
Oh, I'm not acting, you bitch!
So there's little time for the Charlie subplot and the magic of Dave Foley, which is fine. It sets up the next episode, which delivers in abundance.
You're saying you want to eat the eraser?
Well, I'm asking if it's edible because it certainly smells of grapes.
Smitty's initiation opens with a photo of the man himself, maybe captured through a long telephoto lens.
Don't worry about it, Schmitty. We got to you.
The ceremony feels like something Frank decided upon, fueled probably by his never having received such an initiation. Counter to that, DeVito does look unsurprised at the bizarre nature of it all. Perhaps at one time Smitty was a stabilising influence on the gang. The sequence with the roundhouse kick fuels the suggestion that he is a kind of country Mac 1.0, and we can appreciate Frank's many failed attempts to push him out, literally. Charlie stays at school. Maybe they'll teach him how to read. A second mention this episode of Dee as his friend, noting his refound neediness and a sort of weakest cub bottom alliance. I'm looking forward to part 2. In my review of the Dennis system, I talked about Sonny constructing one episode in a stylized fashion as to be multiple episodes. Shaping America's Youth does that as a part 2 on macro and in detail, the school story and the lethal weapon story. I quite like Charlie addressed as Professor, a successful attempt to integrate Goodwill Hunting into his personal life, where he failed in reunites the rivalry. Dee will later try this and fail. Damn, I should have mentioned this in my Always Sunny vs. Doctor Who video.
Hey, Professor.
Echoes of his collegial familiarity from underage drinking, and there's a green bit sticking out of that orange. The boys declare their call on emergency to deliver a seeming throwaway bit of pathetic comic antics, but it's foreshadowed for noobs and acts to conceal the story's midway turning point. Dee gives the kids a Dr. Meyer's death fake-out, influence of Frank, of course, extended to the length of pulling out a row of teeth slowly. Charlie's intervention, initially anyway, demonstrates why he's the one with the heart and redeeming features. He genuinely wants to improve the fortunes of the runt of the litter in a way that he can't do in his own life. Early on in their career, hip-hop duo Insane Clown Posse were denied airplay by Detroit station WJLB because they were white. The face paint comes as much from their advertising and dark carnival mythology as a legacy of Kiss and Alice Cooper. The duo organised fandom in annual festival, the Gathering of the Juggalos. The term juggalo has been criticised for similarity to the racial slur jigaboo, and not as you imagined, gigolo. At the bar, there's a solid conversation about blackface, what it constitutes and isn't, and the offence it causes. Dave Foley as Principal McIntyre looks small. The range of expressions are intentionally limited, and his poise is still. There's an air of caution, and also fear that something bad is going to happen amid the mounting challenges. At Paddy's, the concept of blackface is again roundly mocked, with direct examples, then through Mac's belief system and Frank's nitwit brain.
James Earl Jones has a blackface. He's a black man.
In inviting Dee's class to the bar, the three plot lines become entwined. You can't not love the gang being fingered for serving school kids again.
Without further ado, Othello.
Lethal Weapon 5 is on a level with Garth Marenghi's Dark Place in presenting amateur productions that fail expansively from high ambitions. Appalling line readings,
The person who just died was your wife.
dodgy edits, lazy location work, and abysmal set dressing, low ethics, and sexploitation.
Good, very nice. Oh,
come on.
this is unwatchable. Gotta dive in.
The part switching, incorporating blackface, is a peak of cultural continuity errors. Charlie's karate moves are pretty sweet. All in all, it's a masterclass checking off bad film features. Props as body doubles, greedy action shots and story reprises, and a delightful SFX misfire in the climax. Lethal Weapon 5 ultimately is the boys derailing Dee and Charlie's efforts to find fulfillment after Paddy's pub. It's a fantastic, multifaceted episode. Regulars know I'm working my way through Always Sunny by the episode, 200 seconds at a time. Consider this an appendix to Dee Reynolds' Shaping America's Youth. I'm going to talk firstly about black creative responses to the removals by academics, journalists and creatives. In the second half of the video I'll look specifically inside companies for the management who made such bold and sweeping progressive moves with the suspicious quietness. In June 2020, following the surge of the Black Lives Matter movement, streaming platforms Hulu and Netflix performed a cull of shows they distributed, which included blackface, brownface, yellowface, or raceface. Among these was an episode of Community with a powerful anti-suicide statement. This included 5 episodes of Always Sunny, henceforth known as the Whitewash Gang, which used the race face as a commentary to talk about the prop itself and for the horrendousness of the gang. The first 2 instances, America's Next Top Model Billboard contest and Dee Reynolds' Shaping America's Youth, addressed blackface, if my opinion recalls, with added critical specificity. Top Model is the more nuanced of the two, whereas Shaping America's Youth uses character and illustration to dismantle the concept in a confrontational manner. We'll leave aside that all censored episodes have Dee at their core.
You bitch.
And we'll leave aside the intersecting sociologies of gender and class status. Leave it all aside. There's large audience consensus this was blackface whitewash. Rebecca Wanzo, Professor of Women, Gender and Sexuality Studies at Washington University, writes for CNN, pulling these episodes demonstrates a mere surface engagement with the history of blackface and an inability to recognize precisely what makes racist representations injurious. And talking about these in a compartmentalized way leaves out practices of exclusion, discrimination, and bad faith economics. Professor Wanzo identifies 2 ways non-black people have used blackface. Definitions Sunny's writers address directly with members of the gang, co-opting black identity and caricaturing it. Historical uses from Hollywood archives were collated by Spike Lee in his important film Bamboozled. This is the lens Aisha Harris in the New York Times uses in attempts to organize modern use of blackface. She comes up with 5 categories. The first is attempted satire, such as that used by Tropic Thunder and Always Sunny. Yes, you'll recognize Rebecca Wanzo's description. Usually white men with an unflappable belief that they can play any role as long as they're method enough. It's a style that is self-aware and progressive, yet can't talk about the insidiousness of blackface with relation to a broader societal fashion. There are limits to its understanding and to its subversiveness. The Trading Places mold concerns itself with race swap, how edgy, where progressive Hollywood doesn't understand. Third, just because. Fourth, historical reference and relevance, setting the context. And finally, the question of, is this blackface? Similarities but not actualities to the prop designed to make us uncomfortable and question. Harris agrees with Spike Lee that scrubbing blackface is not productive, and she cites Associate Professor Raquel Gates at the College of Staten Island, who reminds us that the use of blackface can be self-aware, a scathing critique or asking questions, and not necessarily offensive. Going forward, its use should be deployed carefully. Caroline Framk in Variety also cites Gates and her criticisms of Hollywood taking shortcuts. Like many of us, Gates is extremely skeptical of streaming services' 2020 epiphany of creationist proportions, and writer Alana Bennett, who has said that these removals too handily skip over the process of acknowledgement of mistake and apology to become a hiding of historical archives, in effect a censorship of history. Fromke talks to Hollywood historian Karina Longworth, whose analysis points to a PR exercise. See also distasteful cash grab. People can't see the problematic thing, which sort of absolves a company of ever having done it. Longworth says the removals are also the removal of an ability to have a meaningful conversation, which is quite needed. Kirsten Acuna analysed the problem in Business Insider, talking with 5 Black creators, writers, talent and executives about the differing studio responses. The general response was that quite late self-censoring did more harm than good in dismantling racism. Screenwriter Bianca Sams points to the erasure as abdicating responsibility for contextualization, for mistakes. Performer Aniwa Boachi highlights how blackface dates back to at least the 1600s, something many non-blacks may not be aware of. And TV director Millicent Shelton talked of the need for education on context and productive discussion. What kind of culture are we in where racism is something to be laughed at? Shelton asks. And the answer I give is that culture is an emanation of a society with racist systems and attitudes where laughter is a weapon to fight with. Considering Sunny or any other show, we can imagine how these allegations play out in the argument against censorship. What if a band episode was all you knew of Sunny? Would the removal form part of the
implication
that the episode was racist, and by extension, its creators, without even your own chance to do some content analysis on it? Consequentially, fake reporting lets the real offenders move freely. It's telling the removal came with no circulated public statement, or that no personnel took responsibility for these actions. I make up the rules. What are the rules? When I'm suddenly in charge and the company's large, then I'm gonna have to make up new rules. So let's turn an eye on corporate. 5 years on, all we got from inside the machine is a comment from a Netflix spokesperson. Netflix will not be providing comment on this. So the deductions I'm about to make are based only on the evidence of who occupied which role in which company back in July 2020 when the plugs were pulled. None of these people have spoken out as far as I'm aware. Netflix's decision to remove the Whitewash gang episodes will have gone by founder and chair Paul Hastings and chief content officer Ted Sarandos. Rich white guys both. Hastings has, of note, a history of philanthropic donations to Black educational scholarships. Months after the Whitewash, Sarandos moved to another role inside Netflix. Their moves may have been part of the tide by more significant moves at Hulu and significant factors other than George Floyd and BLM. There was a major shake-up of Hulu management in 2018, and then they were acquired by Disney in 2019, to where the first few months of 2020 brought more management quakes. Disney began by eliminating the role of Hulu's CEO, and top executives were to report directly to Walt Disney. Inside Hulu, the arrow seems to point to Kelly Campbell. Campbell was Hulu's chief marketing officer, but at the beginning of 2020 was promoted to president of Hulu. She stayed in the role about 18 months, opting to head up NBC Universal streamer Peacock. Also linked to the decision is Dave Roth as Hulu's creative director. And a third suspect is a bizarre one. Around the same time the FX on Hulu hub was launched, the person in charge was John Landgraf. Yes, the John Landgraf. Sonny's commissioner, recruiter of Danny DeVito, chairman of FX and mayor of TV. As far as I can tell, this is Landgraf in contract with Hulu. Oh Christ, they got the Landgraf. We do know many of the shows were taken down with endorsement by the production companies involved, including Sony and Community. In some cases, it was prompted by creatives involved on those shows as part of a greater public voicing. And although this didn't happen on Sunny, after the event, there were some comments on the show's general use of blackface from creators. But as the examples of the removals of episodes of Community and Sunny shows, there was irresponsibility in curating what was removed. Were Campbell, Roth and Landgraf fearing a reprise of Disney's staff shake-up a little over a year before? I don't want you to think I'm accusing anybody, but it sure sounds like I am. It seems more likely they kowtow to their bosses, as most of us do most of the time. Longtime Disney CEO Bob Iger retired early in 2020, prompting a number of top-level shake-ups inside Disney too. The company likely formulated their whitewash through the folks at Disney Direct-to-Consumer and International, aka the DTCI. In March, 3 months before the whitewash, Vanessa Morrison was appointed president of streaming. Previously, she served as president of Fox Family and Fox Animation. Overseeing streaming, she reported directly to head of motion picture production, Sean Bailey. In May, ex-president of ABC and a president of Disneyland Resort, Rebecca Campbell, became DTCI chairman. 1 week later, George Floyd was murdered. At the time, Rebecca Campbell, Morrison and Bailey were about to launch a Star-branded entertainment streaming service. Many of these talks centered around Campbell's position because they were about to dissolve the DTCI. This was motivated by the success of streaming, including shows #Corporate Lives Matter had earned for them. The DTCI was replaced with Disney Media and Entertainment Distribution, DEM, and here we can see how the power associated with being Disney management had become hubris. At the end of 2022, DEM suffered such financial losses as to prompt another restructuring. Fairly quickly, Bob Iger was reinstated as Disney's CEO. Iger announced decision-making and operational control would return to the creative teams. Morrison is still head of streaming, though Bailey and Campbell have moved on from their roles there. So it's actually becoming fertile ground for those Sunny episodes to be returned. Or Community at any rate. When the repugnant Dennis and Frank voice concerns on race that make a manager or board member look like a nutjob by comparison, maybe they should think twice. We're all entitled to transparency. King of the Rats sees the gang at their kindest, sweetest, performing altruism, sentiments they pass on to the viewer to make for a high-resonance episode. Anyone who's suffered the trauma of a violent death of a pet can understand this rat scene. This scene convinced Guillermo del Toro to cast Day in the role of Dr. Newton Geisler in Pacific Rim. The cameras linger on the gang, picking up how unsettled they are by Rat Hitler, accounting for Day's amendment.
Easiest.
Anyway,
I'm tired today, you know.
A rat king is a rare situation where multiple rats have their tails tied together, seemingly provoked by an infection and occasionally an external malevolence. A metaphor for gang interdependency. Their social awareness as a group is shown when Dee takes the spa coupons and declares her intent to ditch Charlie. Dennis corrects her and Dee recants, both in a stoic, matter-of-fact way. No insults, no digging down further. Marder and Rowell are particularly exploring scope for the show's longevity with destructive dynamics. According to the fandom wiki, this remote-controlled raccoon would help Charlie by scaring away the rats he could no longer kill. Its name's Scarcoon, short for Scary Coon. Dennis switching Mac's surprise gift strains a brain as it all twists and turns. It's in keeping with intergang relationships, though feels like it should have played longer. If we had longer, it keeps us on our toes with the assurance everything is terrible. Osama bin Laden's enduring global legacy took from cinema rules around food and exported it to planes, fight the power. The Spaghetti Date is observational comedy for every child and noisy parent in a cinema.
What dimension are we in?
Shh, Charlie, I don't know. Shh.
Isn't stuff like supposed to pop out at us?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's watch and find out.
And this is also a misdirect to the idea Dee might raise a child. There's luau preparations at the bar. Dennis has a plausible cover story circumvented by a less plausible one, which focuses on the tragic end of his penis. It's raucously funny and extends to cornering Dee at the spa. And then there's Frank.
Where's the robes?
The bridge people were mentioned back in season 4's Mac and Charlie Die, perhaps also of the crab people in season 5's The Great Recession. Amid Frank's provocation of pig wars, they're assigned a name in Duncan, cognitively linked by phonetics to these moments of sheer terror. He's played by David Guerra from The Gang Sells Out and The Gang Cracks a Liberty Bell. The hard D is enough. We literally don't need more Duncan to connect with what Duncan is. We do need to see more of Chad Coleman as Z, however.
Pregnant.
Charismatic effervescent. The spaghetti room gives release to a panic attack through the pores. It's wank jokes, but also harrowing and oddly touching. 100% Gold is a perusing of the Dream Journal which pitches for spin-off media. I'm tempted to imagine Wormhat refers to Werner Herzog. I don't know why.
Drives a biplane and he shoots it at me and I run through a field.
A Bird with Teeth, origin in an extended scene from Mac and Charlie Write a Movie, might be a subconscious fear and threat posed by Dee. And I have no idea what denim chicken represents. The celebration of Charlie is brought by Frank's manipulation. It's his birthday. If we believe the date of birth on his driving licence in The Gang Gets New Wheels, it sets this episode on July 31st. The manipulation is a nod to the status quo that this episode tries to leave behind, that when the gang pursues ethics and morals, it's from a foundation of evil woodworms. This episode is memorable for the homely finale, but there's huge amounts of typical Sunny depravity to get us there. Maybe it's omens for the future. A Bird with Teeth.
Look, I see Charlie eating grass all the time.
The gang gets stranded in the woods in an episode which starts subtle and sneaks up in its greatness. Frank donates money to animal rights as a way to publicly humiliate activists. Mac has read the literature selfishly, but is indoctrinated to put up a squirrel's life before his own. And Charlie is in the trunk of the car with a hood over his head, just because. Scripting by Marder, Rowell and Love Rake, his second of 3 writing credits. It's directed by Shackman, and Chase Utley and Ryan Howard return to the narrative. I've previously mentioned my fondness for the Dennis as mentor, Charlie as mentee dynamic, which gets time here. We believe Dennis has got an elaborate, insidious endgame planned, but Horton plays these moments so close to the chest, so close that it seems there's a genuine interest in Charlie's care and education. I guess that means any enlightenment is a conquest to him, but is it ever overtly declared as such? Maybe it represents Dennis's greater exploration of self. He certainly sees something in Charlie that he wishes to tap. Charlie is groomed. Why Dennis care? Tom Sizemore plays Byron the trucker and dominates his scenes with repulsive sexuality. It's fun to watch our protagonists mentally compartmentalize his advances. Dennis at first thanks him for the compliments. Charlie sticks with thinking on the circumstance and waiting for it to change. It's just all in awkwardness.
It's wabbit season.
Elmer Fudd's Zen moment with the rabbit leads to the suggestion the animal owns his soul, or can see his soul, that it's Frank's spirit animal. This familiar is a symbol of abundance and constant high alert, yet fertility and creativity and capable of relaxing. The Byron dilemma is a manifestation of the obstacles caused by sexual acts in the relationship between Charlie and Dennis vis-a-vis the waitress.
And you could check my oil.
It's also great savage comedy, written as if from Dennis's home recording's weird camera angle. Charlie pretends to be Frank again, with Dennis as his handler.
Take it easy. All right. Hey!
And fun with Chase Utley and Ryan Hard, because any philanthropy or altruism must fulfill the gang's revenge quota.
You guys take care, okay?
Huh, I guess they don't want to suck or be sucked.
It's absolutely ridiculous, holding a funeral for a crow.
Some guilt there over Dennis's crow killing Deandra. Frank confesses to dog kicking, so we know where he got it from. So long, Peter Nickel-Eater. And that's a perfect metaphor for how Dennis and Charlie screw the others over. Maybe I shouldn't say screw. This episode is built around the hot topic of sewer mail and other sewer-based exploring, which often yields coins.
You guys!
Oh, Dee, will you just knock it off? I want to know why these two are rooting around in the sewer.
My water just broke.
Drink what?
All right.
Pregnant.
This one's by Shackman, Hornsby, Mann and Sealaugh. It marks 3 episodes in a row of the gang showing lots of kindness to one another and outside of their group, a shape of what's to come. For lightning, so it is, and will be rooted through selfishness and opportunism. I love how Dennis words his search for the father.
Yeah, so let's get him.
Dee stood on the rolling chair rarely fails to crack me up. It's a moment that works through what it implies in Olsen's physical comedy chops encompassing the character. Imminent childbirth is no obstacle to Dee's stubborn idiocy or compulsive rage. The suspects are lured by promise of a party, Simple Ben the soldier, Cricket the wild card, and Bill Ponderosa the post-therapy sex addict. We glimpse he and Frank bonding through drug habits and lying to women. The fury of Dennis threatens to be unleashed of legend. The response to a nurse passively aggressively threatening to beat him so badly she'd see jail time. Ben's answers are utterly hilarious and at the same time sad and horribly so. Props to Travis Schultz for hitting both ends of the spectrum. Take a long hard look, Charlie. That's your future. Duncan Z, Little Kev, Mr. Kim's busboy, Rex, Revengers assemble. Mr. Crane epitomizes Dee's pre-birth fears by being old. Ugh. Her kryptonite. I missed this, but there's an inference his hand-waving is on account of being wired up to Dennis.
Okay, the waving thing's awesome. That's true.
Mac and Charlie have a raw discussion on how they wouldn't choose a kind of father that's at this party. They'd raise kids to beat up nerds, As happens in the detail, it manifests entirely in the season 14 child punching. Frank's leading of the coked-up suspects is a phenomenal iconic scene and sequence which might bring tears to my eyes if I was a jabroni, but I'm definitely a real man. And the adding of Carmen and Nick to the spectacle doesn't mean I'm anything but tough. Trans YouTuber Lily Simpson has a brilliant piece celebrating Carmen, emphasizing how she's the only regular victim of the gang who gets out better than she came in, explaining sperm donors to Charlie.
So what's going on?
Yeah, can you take me to go get a beer? Because I need a beer.
Beer and cake for all, and celebrating the family behind the scenes of Always Sunny. This show is the greatest. A Very Sunny Christmas. A must-watch every year. Top 5 episodes, I know it. A modern retelling of A Christmas Carol that manages to be on the nose and so subtle. It's innovative in style and approach, and 2 of the most iconic scenes of any episode. Usual Pickering opener sets up the splits in character arcs. Christmas, a snowblower, rocks at trains, Frank's agenda, and colour palette whiplash with Countach Flash. The title sequence craftfully recreated by the shot for the shot. DeVito's intonation gives perfect goading, countered by the fury of 1,000 Christmases. Eugene Hamilton is played by David Huddleston. The duplicity, maybe present in his character at the beginning, gives a placid reaction to the Reynolds vendetta. I love the too placid. The world's #1 religion, and we may never have heard of the Lord. We should have called Hamilton charade. Mac's Closet is a little anthology of unseen adventures. As it should be, Charlie versus Simple Simon brings a pacing down. These vignettes fit so magically. The first, Mac of Christmas Past, is emphasised as shot partially in black and white. It's sweet seeing Lawther as an invested father in a loving marriage. Young Mac is played by Preston Bailey and embodies keen overeagerness. The McDonald's gifting tradition is a story told in 80 seconds. Full sunny horror. Wow. Forcing Charles Dickens' world onto Frank Reynolds automatically is met with a world of destruction, spiralling out into the jarring time mash of a Countach, coat hanger and a sack. It's a fleeting glimpse of young Dennis played by Charlie Carter and young Dee played by Harley Graham. Frank's cruelty spans ages. More time mash, anachronism on the origins of the fake-out, because was Hamilton duplicitous from the outset? Or is it here when Frank stirs old sins within him, luring him to roll around in the dirt? That is, a re-Scrooging. The notion of the fake-out literally ties the whole episode together. It's tapping into the theme of Christmas is not real. In Charlie's story, it's explicit as commercial transactions, yet paradoxically magical, because here we are.
Yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
Okay, but no, just relax.
No!
Are you okay?
The setup for the couch gag, Charlie pounding off. I told you it was all fake out. Hamilton sleeping beside the lump creates a sense of distance around it. I can't review, only laugh on this, but to say that it's the stuff of seasonal magic. Ricky Falcone is played by Pablo Schreiber, but sorry, the real star of this scene is the Omnibot. Telling the story of a Christmas kidnap victim returning home after 20 years with a robotic pitch and tone is inspired. While Dennis and Dee force Christmas upon Frank, this scene cements Mac and Charlie's answering the call, namely the search for the spirit of Christmas, and it keeps Falcone in the narrative. Charlie doesn't grasp the concept of out of stock with an alternate vision of Christmas capitalism.
You better watch out, you better not cry,
That's good, your mom's gonna like that.
This Santa is great casting in Donovan Scott. He's got that kindly granddad vibe going. His use of the R word jars and tells he's of a different age. He may have fought in a war, but is unprepared for... If I may risk detracting from the unquestionable iconic brilliance here, it's been pointed out to me the ferocity of the assault is maybe not in keeping with Charlie's character. I didn't pick that up. The establishment of an ideal Christmas tainted by what his mother had to do to make that provides strong foundation for his actions. And he's brutal. For me, that serves as a construction going forward. Charlie has done vile things before and will do so again.
When I'm dead, just throw me in the trash.
Forcing Christmas Future descends quickly into bickering. The fury of the twins allowing more time for Howard and Olsen's acting chops to chop and chop again. Santa's blood on a shirt. The gang ruins Christmas. News of Frank's death evokes the emotive tragedy in all Dickens and Victoriana. And just when a sunny Christmas can't get any better, the foul-toed Frank introduces us to a fouler, animated world. Real smile time energy, and a musical number. Full props to Michael Yurchak, who voices a lead elf and gives us a full tour around the animated gang extravaganza. It tops Cricket's journey for dismemberment with orchestrated, full clay body disposal.
Why did the elf have no pants on?
The jokes per second ratio is off the scale. The return to Ricky Falcone. As ever, when the gang think they're expressing love, they're aggravating everyone else. And then, Frank has reformed. It's the unthinkable surprise. For real, Omnibot loves you. The light of iconic Christmas narratives, warm feels, momentarily floods Paddy's. A time of giving and receiving.
A gun! I love guns! I got a gun of my own!
Fake out. Eugene's big triumph is visually solid and stands tall. There's no kindness at Paddy's, you jabronis. This episode was Fred Savage's final time directing Sonny, and what a way to go out. Rocks at Trains is more mean-worthiness. It mashes wanton destruction with affection and inclusivity. A very Sonny sweet spot. This year I'm asking Santa to double my subscribers so I can have a sustainable living for myself and the gerbils. So please spread the cheer. It just remains for me to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a happy and sunny New Year ahead.